have to use strings. And he said, okay. I just fell flat because I was ready to fight for it all the way.
Yeah.
And so for the first record out of Nashville with strings as opposed to fiddles, we cut Uptown. And it was so good, we thought, as compared to the record we just released, that he covered it up.
The first monumental single was over Paperboy.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Yeah, Paperboy.
Yeah.
So he covered that one up with Uptown. And so it wasn't really ever an official release. It was just put out to the disc jockeys, withdrawn, and then Uptown was put out. And it did well enough to set up Only the Lonely.
Yeah, just to go back for a second, the two RCA tracks, the singles, I mean, Sweet and Innocent and Almost 18, were real, almost like Johnny Cash's Teenage Queen, real sort of goofy teen anthems. If by the time you got to Monument, you were doing something a little more serious.
Yeah.
How much control did you have at Monument?
Everything on Monument.
So Foster treated you good?
Yeah, he sure did. He was smart enough to get out of the way at the right time, you know, in other words, he didn't put his foot in his mouth by trying to say, sound like this, you know, and or play it this way or use a different chord because he didn't know. He just knew what sounded good to him, which is the best producer you can have, you know. Whatever sounds beautiful to the producer is fantastic, you know.
Now there's a classic tale that we've probably all heard before that leads up to Only the Lonely, but you might as well tell it again about how you were virtually the third choice to record.
Yeah, I was,
Only the Lonely.
Yeah, well, when we, in fact, Only the Lonely wasn't the original title on the song. We called Fred and said, look, we got a great song, it's time to record again. He said, what's it called? And we'd tell him, and he said, well, that was out some years back. And we'd call him, and after we'd worked more on the song, and say, well, it's called this. And he said, well, that was a hit about a year ago. I said, okay. And in keeping with my habits of never listening to the radio at the time, or normally ever, because I didn't want that thing to occur. So I called Fred and I said, well, okay, here's what it's called. And he said, well, now Pat Boone just released a song called that. So it's getting real frustrating. So I come to Joe's house and I said, here's what we're going to call the song. And he said, what? And I said, Only the Lonely. And we went right through it and we had it finished in 10 minutes. And because we'd already worked on the song for months. And I called Fred and I said, look, here's the title of the song. I said, I don't care if it's out now, if it was out yesterday, if it was a smash. If it's a smash right now, it don't make any difference. This is what it's called. And he said, what? And I said, Only the Lonely. He said, okay, come on. So on the way, I thought I'd stop by Elvis's house and see if he liked the song. Because Fred already consented to a session, and we had a couple other songs and yet to record, you know, like Running Scared and all that down the line. But I stopped by Elvis's house about 6 o'clock in the morning. From Texas, we'd driven to Memphis. And handed the guard a note telling him that I was at the gate, you know. And I was going to hang around if it was too early. You know, just sort of hang around and wait till everybody got awake and eventually sing him this song, Only the Lonely, hoping he would record it because he was about due to record, I thought.
Just out of the army then, wasn't it?
Just out.
1960.
Yeah. And so Elvis sent back a note and it said, he said, everybody's all over the place, you know. Everybody's sleeping everywhere there is a place. Says, I'll see you in Nashville. So, he said, we're leaving for Nashville today. He said, I'll see you there. So I thought, well, it was sort of a slight, but and that's the way creative people are. You know, you can't really, you can't be offensive to creative people. They get their feelings hurt. But anyway, I thought, well, he should have at least found out, you know, I've got a smash here. He should have, and if he's going to record, he needs it. So anyway, I sang it for, when we got to the studio, the dub studio at AKF Rose. I sang it for Phil Everly. And I got about halfway through, and Phil said, well, here's one. Let's see, he said, I've been working on this song. And so he sang me half a song. And I said, well, that's nice. And so that he wasn't blown away by it. You know?
Had you already written Claudette for him at that time?
Yes,
So
Yeah.
that already recorded one of his
Right,
songs?
So I couldn't understand why he didn't say, look, we need to have that song.
An omen, right? An omen.
Yes, it was. So I sang it for Fred then. And he said, yeah, that's terrific. He said, I like that song, but he said, you're singing another song there that has a vocal figure in it that you ought to put in Only the Lonely. And that was in Come Back to Me, My Love. It has the dum-dum-W-Y in it. And so we sang Only the Lonely for him. And then this song, he said, well, look, put that vocal figure in that song and you got a smash. So we did. And I said, okay, when can we go in the studio? He said, you can't. I said, why? He said, Elvis has it booked. I said, what do you mean booked? He said, it's booked. I said, well, when is it unbooked? He said, it's not. And I said, you're not making any sense. He said, he's got it booked around the clock for 3 days. And of course, I knew how much it cost to make records.
Was at the RCA studio?
Uh-huh. And I had to wait 3 days cooling my heels while my good friend was in there with all the money in the world. And I didn't have a dime to my name. And I had a smash song. And he was in there spending all that money all night and all day. You couldn't get in. So then by the time I finally got to record Only the Lonely, I was ready to do it. Because there was something that was keeping everybody away from me and everybody away from that song. So we cut it in March, I think. March 15th for May 15th release, or April 15th for March 15th release.
It would have been April because that's when Elvis did his post-down
Okay,
sessions.
all right. It was April 15th then. And I thought that was a lucky month because it's my birthday month. And then I figured maybe the song would be top 20. That was what I guessed at. I didn't tell anybody, but I figured it would be top 20. And I flew to New York on a promotion tour, which I'll never do again. And we were in a theater in New York just watching a movie. And Fred said, let's go check the charts. And I said, well, I don't like to do that, but we will. So we went downstairs to the men's toilet, and a beautifully carpeted area and private telephones and everything. And he called and got the number of, it went in 71 in one of the trade papers, and then 88 in the other one. So I got really excited. I'm fading, but I got really excited. And by the time we sat down to watch the movie, I told Fred, I said, I don't want to watch the movie anymore. And he said, I don't either. And I said, I'll tell you for why. I said, they've put that song in there. They've already messed up, see. They've put that song in there, number 70, and there's no way next week that they're going to drop it back because they've made too big a leap. So I thought they'd either made a mistake or something, but I said, they've sure messed up now. I said, so we got it made, you know. I thought top 20 for sure. And the next week it was 44 from 88, and then 35 in the other magazine. And I said, well, you know, 2 more weeks of this and we're home free. So it went on to go. And my good fortune had it that it was a smash in England, Australia,
number one in England,
everywhere.
number one in Australia, number 2 in America, as I recall.
Yeah. It was number 1 in one of the trade papers. This session, the bass player, Bob Moore, said, I don't see how you can dance to that. He said, it's not in meter. And I didn't know what he was talking about, in meter. And he said, you'll be dancing along and you have 1 foot off the floor. And I said, well, I don't care if if people dance or don't dance. He said, you got to dance to a record, he said. So he was trying to be the kind of, I don't know what he was trying to do. But anyway, Fred said, no, we're going to leave it like it is. So out of meter means that in musicians' terms, you know, if there's supposed to be a 4-bar here and a 2-bar here and all that, well, this one didn't have a pattern, was what it was. And then all the musicians, every time they record for me, they say, okay, how long is it going to take us to learn this one? So anyway, it was a worldwide hit record. And I moved to Nashville from West Texas.